worried about an October surprise. You're dealing with communists, folks. Watch this.
It's really no smiling matter, and it's no humorous matter, because a lot of Americans are worried that there is, at this moment, some tampering going on with regard to election machinery, and maybe not every vote is going to be counted. How can we be sure that that's not happening?
He's not talking about you, folks. He was talking. I played that clip very specifically because some of you say, "Oh, he's right." No.
Why couldn't you just start telling me? Stop on this thing.
No. He's not talking about legitimate concerns, which, by the way, we did a whole segment on Friday on voting machines if you want to look, and the issues with it. So you're happy to watch the Friday show. That's not what he's talking about. What he's doing with Eric Swalwell is if Donald Trump wins, he's about to falsely claim, like the Democrats have for 30 years, that there was some tampering with the election machines and that the Russians stole it. That's that whole segment's about. He's not saying what you would say about election machines. It's totally different.
I like that.
You're an election denier if you said what he said. When he says it on the left, it's considered he's a thought leader. Look at these headlines, by the way. Folks, the media is in on this. The censorship communism is here now. Stop pretending. I don't want to sound like I'm lecturing you. I know you all get it. Look, beam in. I get it. I get it. You get it. We all get it. We're all part of the same army here. I understand. But there are still people out there on the sidelines who watch my show who are like, yells a lot, a little too much fire for me. Fine, maybe the show's not for you. I'm asking you to just listen to the content for a second. Listen to the You think if we lose, free speech is going to survive? How are you going to feel when you're going into a candidate and find yourself on a watch list? New York Times, elections are bad for democracy, Adam Grant. New York Times, the Constitution is sacred. Is it also dangerous? Jennifer Zalahai. New York Times, the First Amendment is out of control. Tim Wu. These are real headlines, folks. You think these people are going to protect democracy? Are you kidding me? The threat to democracy, to this constitutional republic, is from the media and the left.
Pardon me.
This is Supreme Court Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson, who was so dumb at a congressional, or Senate confirmation hearing that she claimed to not know what a woman is. No, just look it up. You don't know what a woman is? A human adult female? You're unaware of that. Here she is at a Supreme Court hearing.
Hey, thank you for the like. I appreciate that.
That the First Amendment is a granting of negative rights, what the government can't do to you, which is restrict your free speech. She appears unaware of this and is wondering why there's a First Amendment constricting what the government. She's a Supreme Court justice. Listen to this.
Justice Jackson?
So my biggest concern is that your view has the First Amendment hamstringing the government in significant ways in the most important time periods.
You hear that?
The First Amendment, Justice Brown Jackson. The idea
Want to
is
take our First Amendment away, dude.
And their restrictions on free speech. You're a freaking Supreme Court justice. You don't know this?
They're the ones supposed to be fighting for it. It's a constitutional right. It's our God-given right to be able to say what we want.
Standard operating procedure.
If we wasn't allowed to say what we want, God would have put checks and balances on our voice boxes.
Soon we'll realize the terrain features of the battlefield will fight. Those of you out there who are awake, not woke, God bless you. For those who are still sleeping or in that fugue state when you get up in the morning, you are running out of time. You better take some smelling salts, man, and stop listening to the stupid people. Because there's a fight in front of us. And for a lot of you out there,
There's for sure a fight in front of us, guys.
out.
And it's up
For
to
those on the
you
fence,
to get out there and
kick you in
vote.
the balls if you don't wake up soon.
It's up to you to get out there and make
Let me
a
give you some good
difference.
news, bad
If
news.
you
coming up
don't make
next.
that
The good
difference,
news,
we're going to
the
pay.
fake Kamala AstroTurf
Yeah.
effort is over. Don't believe the left wingers are. Quick break. I'll get back to that in a second. It's tailgating season. Tell me about it. And of course, cookouts.
Each and
With
every
lots
one of
of
us
feeling left in the season.
got to get out
Season.
there.
The experts in Omaha State are inviting you
Fight,
to savor.
You gotta
Savor
fight.
some of the 50% off site by doing this.
It's up to you, bro.
Plus, you get an extra $20 off.
It's up to you to walk out there.
5 generations
it
of
not
Omaha State's
happen
bring
again.
endless flavor,
It's up to
variety,
you
and
to make
value,
it happen.
and premium proteins that are sure to satisfy. Doesn't stop
Got it.
there. You'll enjoy big savings on premium pork and chicken, scrumptious sides, and of course, decadent desserts to sweeten the deal. Folks, the steak, the chicken, the pork, the seasoning, the burgers. You eat an Omaha Steaks burger, there's no going back. Take one bite, juicy, dripping with flavor.
Bongino.
Absolutely amazing. Having a cookout, some tailgating, will savor summer with 50% off, 50, during the Omaha Steaks Labor Day sale. Don't miss it. Shop
Hopefully
today
Dan Bongino will catch us one
omahasteaks.com.
day.
omahasteaks.com, get an extra $20 off and use promo code Bongino to check out. Plus, every purchase is backed by the unconditional money back guarantee. Minimum purchase may apply. Visit omahasteaks.com for details. Pick up some good quality food today. omahasteaks.com. Sure. Here's the good news, bad news on a de facto Monday, even though it's Tuesday. If you look at the latest Nate Silver forecast, only reason I put Nate Silver up, folks, is because he's not a conservative. Why would you put up polls from a guy who's not a conservative? And for a very simple reason. Number one, how many times I got to say this? Folks in the chat, you know I'm going. Polls are shit. They're garbage. I don't believe them anyway. The only reason I put them up from a relatively left-leaning guy like Silver is you know they're trying to fake the polls because the polls about Trump have always been fake. He ran 9 points behind the polls in 2016 and 5 points behind the polls in 2020. However, if this is the best you can do, even faking it, it says to me the fake Kamala Harris AstroTurf BS is over. August 14th, chances of winning, Kamala Harris 56%, Trump 42%. August 31st, just a couple days ago, totally flipped on its head. Trump 55%, Harris 44% chance of winning.
It's crazy.
You
No
look at
comment.
the Pennsylvania odds, Nevada, the swing
Wow.
states, ladies and
Well,
gentlemen,
at least we're
Trump
getting
is
people
ahead.
coming in now.
Some of the latest polls I saw from Trafalgar. Trump
Welcome.
is
I
ahead
hope,
basically all
I
the
hope
swing
you're enjoying
states.
the content.
I'm going to say this again.
I
And I
really
want you
do.
to take this to heart. Polls are BS. Do not
Welcome,
believe
guys.
them. They are simply points in time that can be skewed by arranging different kind of soups of voters. Oversample Democrats, oversample Republicans, oversample independents. If you get the sample wrong, the poll doesn't mean anything. That's why polls are so frequently off on Donald Trump. The only reason I put them up again is these are left-leaning guys. If they are trying to push poll, they are doing a terrible job because Trump is still ahead or within the margin of error in just about every swing state nationally.
Trump 2024,
What do
baby.
we have to do now going forward? Folks in the chat, put it in the chat. I
Put
wanna
it
see
in the
Any
chat.
evidence
I wanna
everyone's
see
paying
it.
attention. Why don't you go on?
2024.
Shirts out in the chat.
Trump 2024. I want to see it.
What do we have to do?
I'm waiting. Trump 2024 in the chat.
Unbelievably, in a paper proclaiming to be a paragon of democracy, The Guardian actually wrote an article suggesting outright fascism, that we should start arresting people like Elon Musk with different political ideas. Keep in mind, Elon's not even a conservative.
Right.
He's more of a libertarian, left-leaning socialist guy. Robert Reich wants him arrested.
Robert Rice is a douchebag, bro.
Good news, I think we're ahead. The bad news is, folks, this October surprise coming. I don't know what it is, and I don't like to put information. The whole point of the show is to guide you, provide good, solid opinions.
Well, that's why
so
it's
we're all
called a surprise.
informed.
By Gino.
I don't know what it is. In the past, I had an idea. I mean, I knew they were going to do that fact check thing in the Hunter Biden. They didn't have to be You knew they were going to make it. 2016, the Russia stuff, I was a little slow to respond, so were others too, because we were like, this is the crap, like, and no one's going to believe there's a PP tape. Shockingly, they ran with it. And then once we realized the threat, you know, it was too late. We had won, and I think everybody figured it would go away, never realized they were going to run with it. These people are so sick. I don't know what's going to happen, but we all need to be ready for it. We need to be ready to double down on volunteering, double down on activism, and double down on donations. To me, I ain't running. Pick a candidate, Trump or someone, and throw a few bucks out there, folks. Country's at stake.
Call your governor.
Here's the bad news too.
Your governor's office. Find out what they're doing about the immigration.
We got to swamp this.
The voting.
We beat them in 2016. We can do it again. But I think the cheating is going to be ugly this time. Ugly this time. It wasn't ugly last time. We stole it. However,
find out if they're monitoring.
They've got a pool of illegals in the country they didn't have before. It's clear they're up to no good with the.
If you're a Republican, we need to get out there and see if we can't get jobs at the polling places.
Show us proof of citizenship to vote. We'll shut the government down.
I want to try to, but I'm a two-time felon, so I don't think that's going to fly.
We're going to have to win by 2 to 3 points.
Thank you for the other like in the chat. I appreciate that, man.
President Trump is in.
From the bottom of my heart, I appreciate that.
Folks, this should scare the hell out of you.
Can I get a Trump 2024 in the chat?
Exclusive and breaking. Susan Crabtree, X. The Secret Service is stretched so thin with the campaigns. As I told you, did I not predict this, folks? I told you they had an unprecedented
Or if you're for Harris, put it down.
No time in modern American history, as a former president run again with a bigger threat profile than the president, while the president refuses to run and his vice president gets the nomination. They have never had a protecting load like this. I warned you about this. Susan notes they have a deficit for the UN General Assembly in New York of 650 special agents. Folks, that's probably around an eighth to a tenth of the entire workforce. Why is the UN General Assembly a big deal? Because every head of state that the Secret Service must, by law, protect is in New York at the same time. Well, not everybody, because most of the members of the UN General Assembly. It's so bad, I've never seen this before. The Department of Defense is now providing personnel for things I've never seen. Now, to be clear, because accuracy and precision matter, the Secret Service using the Department of Defense assets is not in any way new. We partner with them on WACA, the White House Communications Agency. We partner with them with WAMO, White House Military Office. EOD, Explosives Detection Team. Many of them come from the military. K-9 handlers, a lot of them come from the military. The pilots, a lot of the support staff that help the Secret Service out in their mission are DOD. That's not unusual. However, this U.S. Department of Defense press release from last week, I've never seen anything like this before. They're going to provide assistance with logistics, transportation, and communications. Put that up. This is the Secret Service guys talking about the DOD. A lot of agents, if you read Susan,
this is why I gotta get a computer for the live, because I can do that too. Start moving stuff up here and over here while I'm doing this.
The Department of Defense has been invaluable partners.
I ain't never had a computer though. I've always had just this phone. That's what I've done this whole channel with, this phone.
It'd be the equivalent of asking a Secret Service agent, to go join an infantry.
Gotta make it happen regardless.
It's not
now I got a mic for it, so we're good.
The valor or isn't capable of learning. But you wouldn't just throw them in an infantry unit with no experience in the space.
I got this new video I'm getting ready to drop, man. I got some
Secret Service is so shorthanded from poor management.
Special effects in it and stuff like that, like I'm doing with this almost. Right, check it out when it drops on Adkins Fabrication and then some. If you subscribe to the channel, hit that bell button. Yeah, you'll get it first.
She has received No bump
It'll be
whatsoever
pretty cool.
from that ridiculous Democrat national.
I'm
More on
new
her
to this.
coming up next.
I ain't never
Folks,
did
her
this
radical
before. I'm new to
positions
it.
Are out there. Don't listen to me. Just listen to
But
her.
you should see what I
Let's break.
started
We'll
from
get
where I
back to
came
this.
today. When I first started videoing, I videoed everything. And then when it get long enough, that's a video.
Infrastructure and pandemic funds get to be spent. There's a massive amount of
That's
money
a
that the
video.
administration's pushing on
Send it
spending in
out.
the last few months. The president's able
I
to
ain't
push
do
these
no
funds out.
editing
It's
at
been
all. I
not
didn't know
following
how to.
inflation.
So I
Just
kept
like
it
you.
real. I told
I'm sure
people,
you
look,
remember the terrible effects of high
this
prices
is
that
what
are
shop
happening right
shop
now.
life is like.
There's hope.
You
Surging
trip,
prices
you
can
fall,
be
you bump your head, you might cut
Gold
yourself,
IRA for Birch
you
Gold
might bang
is
your
an
finger.
inflation hedge for your savings and
The
also.
point of it
I
is
buy
that
my
you
gold
learn
from
through
Birch
the
Gold
process and you keep it moving.
I'm very concerned about the value of gold. See how to protect your IRA or 401k. Get your free info kit on gold by texting the word Dan to
It
9898.
teaches you shop etiquette.
Birch Gold makes it seamless to roll over your retirement account while preserving your tax advantage status. Don't wait to see if the president's spending spree tanks the dollar further. Protect.
But one thing I've learned through banging yourself up, right, in a shop, a shop setting, even if you got a home shop, that's what I'm basically, I got a home shop. It's just not at my home.
Blackout coffee.
It's a garage that I rent.
Mm,
I pay $50 a
the
week for it.
official coffee of the Bongino Army, Blackout Coffee. They also got their Skip the Brew, ready to drink, which is totally badass. Gets my badass
Yo,
product.
I'll tell you this, they rent me the garage. These people are a complete blessing,
Blackout
bro.
Coffee is great.
Like, I realize me that they rent me the garage, and I got the electric in the garage for $50 a week.
Blueberry crumble or the
I
cinnamon
mean,
French
granted, I
toast.
only get
It's
down there like
absolutely
once or twice a
Why?
week, twice,
Different
2 or
than
3
the
times a
premium
week.
grade coffee beans. It's not this woke crap coffee.
At the most, I'll get down there every day, but that's at the most, and that's very rare.
Into their product line. I'm personally recommending it. The folks at Blackout Coffee, they love the country. They love coffee. That's what they do. They ship within 48 hours of roasting. It's
I like
incredible.
to try
Do me a
that.
favor, check it out. Go to blackoutcoffee.com/Bungino. See what I'm talking about.
Oh man, look at me.
You get supporting those woke crap.
I've got to stop doing
Here's the
that.
deal. Don't just support them 'cause
I'm
they're woke.
advertising for Dan Bongino. I ain't getting nothing from
Check it
that.
out. Send me your reviews in the chat.
What the hell?
Blackoutcoffee.com/Bungino. Or use coupon
Black
code
out my
Bongino,
ass,
20% off.
Bongino. You better send me some goddamn money, bro.
All right, back.
It's like, nah, I'm playing. I did that on my own.
Folks, the Kamala Harris AstroTurf effort is fake. Left-wing polls can't seem to separate her from the margin of error. Now, why is that happening? Because she's a liar. She is a fraud. She is a fake, and she is a phony. Everything she says is a lie. Listen to me. Anyone out there in the chat in Pennsylvania knows someone in Pennsylvania or knows someone who knows someone in Pennsylvania? If you do, this quick segment is for you. She keeps talking about how she's changed her values on fracking. Hydraulic fracturing of rock is how we get natural gas largely in the country right now. If we shut down hydrofracking, hydraulic fracturing, then the energy costs in this country will skyrocket even higher than they are now. Kamala Harris is on the record saying she wants to support fracking. She's now saying, that she wants to, she supports eliminating fracking. She's now milquetoast-wise trying to walk it back. She said in the CNN interview, oh, I cast the deciding vote, basically it's pro-fracking thing. That's not what happened. This show brings the receipts. Wall Street Journal, Alyssa Finley does great work. Kamala Harris was making a reference to the Inflation Reduction Act. It includes a provision that requires the government to hold offshore oil lease sales as a condition for auctioning offshore wind farms. Joe Manchin inserted the provision in an effort to force the Biden administration to hold more oil lease sales, which is slow one. But the bill didn't increase fracking. You know why? The Biden-Harris administration undermined the spirit of the law by consolidating wind lease sales to minimize the number of auctions for oil leases. As the New York Times themselves pointed out, quote, Biden administration offers fewest offshore oil and gas leases in history. Everything this lady says is a lie, folks. She is full of crap. This is who this woman is. Sharpton, noted race hustler, grifter, and total life loser. I remember this guy in New York when I was a cop, when I was a young man. I remember his anti-Semitic attacks. The guy is disgusting, and he always has been. Ever see the videos of this guy? Here's Kamala Harris kissing his ass, telling him straight up she supports reparations, where Americans who did nothing wrong are going to pay other Americans for a sin generations ago that they had nothing to do with. I can't imagine a more divisive policy to support. Don't listen to me. Listen to Kamala Harris. Check this out.
In the area of reparations for descendants of Africans enslaved. If you elected president, would you sign that bill if it came across your desk?
When I am elected president, I will sign that.
I left the laughing in because does the woman ever stop cackling? So just to be clear, she wants you to forego your hard-earned money in an inflation-riddled, struggling economy that her and Joe Biden caused to other people you did nothing wrong to. And she thinks it's funny? He said the Wall Street Journal piece was a little confusing. The bottom line is this. She keeps saying she voted for the bill to support fracking. The Inflation Reduction Act did nothing of the sort. And even what they pretended to do, increase oil leases, they screwed up, they screwed everyone over and issued less, not more. This is the most anti-energy, anti-American, communist, anti-free speech, anti-constitution candidate we have ever seen. She's also a genuinely awful, egomaniacal human being. Folks, obviously I'm not going to say her. Hold on, put everything down and listen for a second. You're a lefty watching the show. You're an independent who's up in the air in the election. Whether you believe me or not is your call. I can't force you to believe me. I'm not a communist. I'm going to hold your head under the water until you believe me. Wait what I tell you, or I'm going to ban you. I'm getting from multiple people. This woman is a genuinely awful person. She is really, really, really bad. Not a shred of dignity or character to this woman. It airs itself often, and you just have to watch it. Here she is when they're about to ask her about the 13 heroes killed at Abbey Gate in Afghanistan after Biden's cowardly withdrawal. I want you to watch her first inclinations to do what? Her first inclination is to laugh about it. Check this out.
What's your response to the birth of Americans? Hold on, everybody. I want to talk about two things. First, Afghanistan.
What's funny about we had just lost 13 patriots brutally murdered after a cowardly withdrawal done in the most tactically inefficient and deadly way possible. And Kamala Harris, again, her first instinct is to cackle. Cackle. This is not a serious person. This is not a person with any character or dignity at all. This is not a person who cares at all about you, middle-class voters, earners, working-class Americans. She does not care. Everything to her is a joke. It's all about her personal ambitions, folks. Did you hear about this, too? There's a plan in California, which now Kamala Harris has adopted. She's only changed the amount. In California, they want to give $150,000 to illegals, criminals in the country who broke our immigration laws as their first act of coming here, chose not to do it the right way, but break the law. California wants to give $150,000 for them to buy a home. No. Oh, yeah. But don't worry, folks. Kamala Harris only wants to give $25,000. Here's the great Peter St. Onge explaining exactly this. It's about 20 seconds. Kamala Harris probably thinks this is funny, too. Check this out.
The state of California just approved $150,000 loans to illegal migrants to buy houses. where, get this, they don't have to make any payments until they sell the house. Can you imagine a $150,000 loan you never have to repay? Well, you can if you are every single human on earth who is not American.
There we go, folks. How does that make you feel? You're struggling to sell your house or buy a house. Come here legally and get yourself a nice $150K. You don't have to pay back till you sell the home. Would you ever sell the home? No. What I would do is I would take the $150K. I would buy a house with the government's money, which they steal from the taxpayer. I would then rent the house out forever and use it as a source of income, and then bequeath it to my kids later, and then see if you can buy another house for another $150K. What a deal, huh? Don't worry, Kamala Harris only wants $25,000. Yeah, Guy's thinking maybe they should implement this policy in Mexico. You go to Mexico, they give American citizens $150K to buy. That'd be a great idea, right? Look at this one, too. In case you think, by the way, that, oh, no, that, at least it's not going to impact the election. Folks, this is why I'm worried. I said I'd give you the bad news. They are going to cheat. That's not news. We know they cheat. They cheat all the time. It's obvious. However, just listen to their own words and watch their actions. It's the do that matters more than the talk. Here's the Associated Press doing their best to make sure the cheating is covered up. David Lee, AP. Illegal voting by non-citizens is rare, yet Republicans are making it a major issue this election. If it's rare, like you say, number one, you can't prove it counterfactual. If you didn't catch them voting, you don't know it's rare.
Yeah, what's
But
happening,
if it's
y'all?
rare, then why are the Democrats so worried about it?
Okay.
Occam's razor, folks. If the Democrats are really concerned about something they claim it's rare, that means it's not
Oh, we
rare.
going back,
That
baby.
means they want to use illegal immigrants to vote. Here's a tweet by Mike Lee. Speaker Mike Johnson is going to attach the SAVE Act, which does one simple thing, folks. It says you have to
And a
prove you're
weirdo.
citizen. The Democrats
Trump's
are
a
doing it. It's
weirdo.
non-starter. They're getting ready to shut
Oh
down
my
the
God, this
government,
guy
the
went
Democrats,
off in my
to make
chat.
sure illegals vote.
Trump, worst president ever. Well, at least you came in the chat, cool Ed. Thank you, buddy.
We have been
I
covering
appreciate
this
it. I hope you give me a
since
thumbs up in the
2016.
chat. A
We
like.
covered it extensively in 2020. Efforts to
This is
undermine
hard
our
work to get
republic
Dan Bongino on TV, man.
with elections
Fucking
lack
prick.
integrity. If you don't have free and fair elections, you don't have a republic. It doesn't matter what happens next.
Love you,
I
Ed.
don't want Republicans cheating. I don't want Democrats cheating. I don't
That's
want
the
anyone
American
cheating.
way right there.
If the
Fuck our
Democrats are willing
country
to
all the
shut
way
down
up.
the government
Get 'em,
over
man.
a simple proof of citizenship verification thing to register to vote, it says to me they are resolutely committed right now to cheating in this election. The only question is not if, it's the degree. Is it going to be enough to overcome the massive swamp of MAGA voters I see that are just going to flood to the election booths as we bring 10 people with us?
There he
I
is.
hope not.
There's my guy.
They're going to try.
Hey, did you look at this old
That's why you gotta
Texas? You
talk to
see
your
this
local
dude?
officials.
Cool Ed
Stay
done went
on
off
top.
in my shit. He
Ask
shit all
them
over
today,
my channel,
what
bro.
are you
Look at
doing
this,
to make
all this
sure only American
whack
citizens
ass
vote
graffiti.
to secure this election?
A Kamala lover.
Folks, this gets even worse.
He said Trump
Kamala
is too.
Harris, the Gold Star family. This
Oh
has been
man,
an absolute disaster.
the Trump derangement syndrome came straight through. Let me see.
Oh, yeah,
Trump
yeah,
man's
yeah.
Kamala
This-
Harris
this
is a fraud and
Kamala
another
Harris
puppet
wants to be the
on a
commander-in-chief
string
of our military
for the
force.
Democratic
Doesn't
Party.
seem to
You're
understand
damn
the destruction
skippy.
they've caused overseas.
Old
Watch the
Tex,
CNN
get him, sir.
clips.
Hey, can I get a like in the chat, Old Tex?
We invited both President Trump and the Biden-Harris administration, and we didn't hear back from the White House. We were happy to welcome President Trump to lay wreaths with all three of our families and our wounded, some of our wounded from that day. And when he came to Section 60, it was at our request to spend time with our loved ones. There was not a press presence there. We privately took pictures among ourselves.
No, she's not black, sir.
And
You're
it was,
absolutely right.
You know, more celebratory feeling for that day because, you know, we want to celebrate our loved ones, and it's very hard to find ways to do that.
That's right, old Texan.
Not done with the story. A lot of you were asking me about what happened in Arlington. Donald Trump showed up because he cared. Kamala Harris and Biden, whose cowardly retreat from Afghanistan got 13
Cowards.
heroes killed.
Cowards, cool head. Cowards.
I promise you this is going to blow up in their face. I got more on that coming up. So we're going.
Like you, cool head, you done ran out of the chat.
There's a bunch of Republicans pounds on this too, because the media is trying to cover it up.
Cowards.
I want you to watch this ad, folks. This is another ad. Just
That's how Democrats do. They drop in and poo-poo on your channel real quick and then they roll out. You know what I'm saying, old Texan?
These are the kind of ads that are going to sway persuadable minds. All you've got to do with Kamala is show people who she really is. And once their eyes are open, it's impossible to unsee it. Watch this.
She's a damn sicko.
Supporter. That changed after an illegal alien murdered my son.
Hey, that's
running him
shit.
over and driving back and forth over to his body 3 times. The man who killed my son had been arrested previously, but Kamala Harris let him go. The San Francisco's DA.
Hey, y'all hear about this shit that's going on in Aurora?
Back into our neighborhoods. Kamala Harris is dangerous.
Preserve America PAC is responsible for the content of this advertising.
Right on,
The
sir.
more people get to know her, the more people dislike her. That's why she's got earbuds in, pretending to talk on the phone with the earbuds in when she exits the Secret Service motorcade, because nobody likes her. Let me prepare.
Yeah, I was a Democrat at once too,
Show
man.
you who the real Kamala is, because she's so
I can't do it. I don't even talk to my
But she says
mom
her
no more
values
because
haven't
she's
changed.
a Democrat and she's got TD as bad.
She was full of shit then. She's
Bad, but I got no problem with telling her what she believes in is bullshit.
This is what she's reading. This is age more appropriate.
So we just don't even talk no more.
She's waiting in the debate for this moment. There was a big fight over leaving.
I'd rather not
microphones
talk to my
on
mother
when
than
other
disrespect
candidates speak. Kamala Harris wants to change the rules now and allow that to happen. The reason is she's waiting for this moment. This is all she has.
All right, guys, come on, man. Don't be greedy with the likes in the chat now. Lord have mercy.
The Trump team should respond in a second, but I want
I
you to
only
watch
got
this
2
compilation
so
when she was
far.
debating Mike Pence, where she, even after her, I'm speaking moments over and over, still got smoked in the debate. This is what she's going to try to produce against Donald Trump, this kind of content for the media. I'm going to tell you guys how we should respond in a second. Watch this first.
Vice President, I'm speaking.
Yeah.
I'm speaking. Mr. Vice President, I'm speaking. I'm speaking.
The important is to say the truth.
Mr. Vice President, I'm speaking. I'm speaking. Okay. If you don't mind letting me finish.
This is all she has. Do you understand she has something different? Are you ready? Here's how the Trump team should respond. Again, they don't need my advice. They're doing fine on their own. I get that. I am not their campaign spokesman. I am a supporter of Donald Trump. I'm just humbly and respectfully offering a piece of advice here. She is going to do this. It is a distraction mechanism. The minute she does it, give me your feedback in the chat. Tell me if I'm crazy. Donald Trump should say, there it is. Media people should get it. That was for you. Left-wingers, commies in the media. That was for you. Spread it around now. The microphones will be live, remember. Everybody got it? Spread it around. We're going to hear that 5 or 6 more times tonight. The problem is she wasn't speaking when our border was invaded and 13 of our patriots were killed over in Afghanistan and a bunch of sex trafficking and fentanyl was crossing our southern. She wasn't speaking that. But then you got your moment? Okay, can we move on now? Done. She'll be finished. That's all she has. He's got to be ready for it. And I'm sure he is. He's got some good debate preppers. I think Tulsi Gabbard's helping him. It'll be fun. They don't need my advice. I just say that humbly as a guy who talks 20 hours live and used to debate people live on talk radio and TV for decades. Liberals live for the talking point. There is nothing worse when you point out to them and everyone else listening that their talking point is in fact the talking point. Everyone get it? The media? Everyone get that on tape? There you go. That's her moment. Okay, okay, good. You got that. Now can we speak about the things she actually did wrong? Getting back to the Gold Star family, by the way, who were treated so horribly by this disgusting Biden-Harris administration that got their loved ones killed. Here's the New York Times running cover for the Biden-Harris administration that got these heroes killed in Abdiqua in Afghanistan. Trump campaign uses statements from Gold Star families to attack Harris. It's the worst Republican ounce I think we've ever seen in our lives. Trump campaign uses statements from Gold Star families to attack Harris. How about Kamala Harris attacks Trump and gets immediately corrected by Gold Star families? That's actually the appropriate way, but because it's the filth, Chris Cameron at the New York Times, filth, the absolute filth, communists at the New York Times, this is what they write. Here's Biden. Here's a video of Biden, who asked about this situation. Biden's cowardly retreat from Afghanistan got our patriots killed. Of course, the media wants to give him an opportunity for a soundbite, so they ask him a question, and he can't even get this right. Check this out.
Mr. President, how did the President Trump's behavior at Arlington Cemetery with the visit to the fallen soldiers?
Did you watch your vice president's interview on CNN?
Notice there's no sympathy for the families. There's no recognition whatsoever that the families come first. It's Joe Biden with this oatmeal for brains, lack of a cognitive connection. He's like, I'm going to tell you what I say about Donald Trump. Hinting that there's something really bad coming. I want you to watch this too. Here's the media again running interference. Kristen Welker, who I knew a long time ago and tried to pretend to be a journalist, has now gone full-blown communist. Here she is with Tom Cotton. The Biden-Harris administration has never recognized fully the 13 patriots who died at Abdiqua. Donald Trump has. Here's Kristen Welker falsely claiming that Kamala Harris greeted them at the dignified transfer ceremony. Kamala Harris wasn't there, and Joe Biden was checking his watch. Watch this.
Well, I know, I guess, Senator, is it ever appropriate to make campaign content at military grave sites?
They didn't take campaign photos there. These families, Gold Star families,
Pfizer kills your aunt.
died because of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris's incompetence, invited him to the cemetery. And they asked him to take those photos because, as they told me yesterday,
You say Pfizer killed your aunt, bro?
The parents of
I'm sorry to hear that, sir.
ties. They don't get to go to
Real
the beach on
live.
Labor Day.
I'm very
They don't
sorry
get
to
have
hear
barbecues.
that.
This is their one chance to have a memory of their
She
children,
had
to
COVID.
commemorate their service and honor their sacrifice. They wanted President Trump there. They wanted to take those photos. You know who the families also invited? Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. Where were they? Joe Biden was sitting at a beach. Kamala Harris was sitting at her mansion in Washington, D.C. She was 4 miles away, 10 minutes. She could have gone to the cemetery and honored the sacrifice of those young men and women, but she hasn't. She never has spoken to them or taken a meeting with them.
Well,
It's
they
because of
did
her.
meet with them during the dignified
It's
transfer.
because of
They were
her.
with them at the dignified transfer.
Her and Joe Biden's incompetence that those 13 Americans were killed in Afghanistan.
Okay, number one, at the dignified transfer ceremony of the bodies of these heroes, Joe Biden was checking his watch. And what Kristen Welker, or whatever her name is, just said is bullshit. Kamala Harris was not there. She's never recognized these families. Here's the correction by Meet the Press. I was only forced into correcting it because fact checkers won't do their job. Throw that tweet up. On our broadcast this morning, we incorrectly implied that Biden and Harris attended the dignified transfer. Biden was in attendance, but Harris was not. Nothing these people tell you is true. Here's left-wing Snopes, the straight-up commies. This was so bad, even they had to recognize it. Did Biden check his watch multiple times during transfer of fallen soldiers? Fact check. True. Imagine the commies having to say this. Nothing these people tell you, ladies and gentlemen, is true. Nothing. I promise you truth has a home base. Okay? I'm not going to lie to you, protect anyone or anyone's agenda. Have my word, okay? You walk away from the job I love over a decade ago. The bullshit. Okay? We have built this army because it matters. Built around a foundation of truth. We need that. Go and execute. Let's win this thing at 60. I'll see you guys here in the radio show in a little bit on Rumble. If you want to watch it live, rumble.com/Bongino. Please give us a follow. Rumble's free, by the way, folks. You can download the Rumble app. It's absolutely free. If you don't like ads, that's okay. You can subscribe to Rumble Premium. That's available for you as well. Rumble.com/Bongino if you want to watch on your laptop or computer. Also, give us a follow if you wouldn't mind the Dan Bongino Show on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. It means a lot to us. We deeply appreciate it. Thanks for all your support, you guys.
3 months, you've heard a lot, mostly in the background, talking about the presidential election of 2020 wasn't on the level of their voter fraud. There's always voter fraud. Elections, of course, in a country of 340 million, there's going to be some fraud. But was there more than normal? Was there enough to perhaps change the outcome? The answers to those questions are still muddy, but the evidence is coming in drips and drabs. In the state of Wisconsin, we just got a whole trove of evidence, and we thought it'd be worth going through it in some greater detail today. Judge Michael Gableman is a former Supreme Court justice in the state of Wisconsin. He was a special counsel appointed by the Wisconsin State Assembly to look into the 2020 presidential election. Gableman just issued a report. His findings included a recommendation the legislature should, quote, take a very hard look at decertifying the last election in the state of Wisconsin. This is one of those stories that has not received enough attention. There's a lot else going on, but the integrity of our elections matter because democracy matters. So with that in mind, Michael Gableman, judge, joins us now. Judge, thanks so much for coming on. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. Now, I should preface this by saying this is a topic that's just fraught with political partisanship. It shouldn't be partisan. I don't think so.
And in fact, what you just said a moment ago, that in every election we see fraud, and that's true. But I don't think we ever see it on such a systemic level where you have a sort of marriage from hell between leftist private corporations and the actual people who are charged, state officials who are charged with running a fair, honest, and transparent election.
So that right there, just that sentence sets off every alarm. So as someone who grew up in this country, my assumption, I think most people's assumption is elections are run by the government, right? And private actors, partisan actors are not allowed to have an influence over the process because by definition, that's corrupt and that's fraud. But you described a system that was heavily influenced by outside actors.
You know, and let's take one step back, that yes, that elections are run by the government, but really, if you go back to the early case law, as I had a reason to do several months ago, the law actually assigns the real responsibility to the people, to the citizens, and it's not something, it's unlike other government services, that it's the citizens who are actually supposed to put on our own elections. And why I bring that up, it's a distinction with a difference, because really my call, now you made reference to decertification. I really, on the list of priorities, I think that's somewhere down here. I really do, for reasons we can talk about. The real answer is that citizens, good citizens interested in honest, open, fair, and transparent elections take a personal interest, unlike road repair work, unlike the courts or law enforcement. This is something that anyone can participate in, and they participated in it by becoming engaged in the process, by volunteering, or working as a poll inspector or poll observer, being trained and keeping an eye on the officials who are tasked with running the election.
Such an interesting point. So how did you get, so you're a Supreme Court justice in Wisconsin, how do you wind up investigating an election?
You know, no one's asked me that before, and I thought that was a fascinating process. I had chosen not to run for a second term. I won a statewide election. I was the first person to take out an incumbent justice in over 40 years in Wisconsin in 2008. And then I served 10 years, and those were 10 very intense years in Wisconsin. Wisconsin is sort of ground zero for all of the left's experiments and techniques when it comes to manipulating government. And as a justice, that's why my election was so hard fought.
That's why was it such a great state in so many ways? Why was it?
You know, I've had, believe me, Tucker, I have had cause to wonder about that. And what I can come up with is, I think that in Wisconsin, there is, especially in Milwaukee, there is a tremendous still pro-labor, the labor unions. And then we have a very tight connection between our government infrastructure, especially in Madison, and the University of Wisconsin, which is in Madison, with New York City. That is a relationship that people don't really talk about. It's a fascinating connection.
Years too. That's not a new thing.
It's been a fascinating connection. So I think, especially the latter, if I had to pick, I think it's a state. It's a state where the average citizen just kind of trusts that their government is going to do the right thing. And we only have one major source of news, and now that's the newest subsidiary of Gannett, which is just a terrible
The
source.
Milwaukee Journal.
Yes, and that has just become a self-described opinion newspaper. However, they try to disguise it as honest reporting. Tucker, you probably want to talk.
Wait, so you just said, just for the overview, so basically your politics and culture are controlled by the University of Wisconsin in Madison.
In conjunction with the state's largest newspaper.
Okay, so you have a heavily rural state with a lot of really normal people, a lot of Catholics, a lot of, outdoors and sportsmen types, like good solid Americans, but this wellspring of poison in Madison in conjunction with Milwaukee just kind of wrecks everything.
It's especially embittered and hardened in Madison.
Yeah.
But typically statewide elections in Wisconsin are described as Madison and Milwaukee against everybody else.
Yes. I'll stop here, but what's just interesting is everybody else in Wisconsin really are some of the best people I've ever met. I mean, really great people. And it feels like they're oppressed by these lunatics. Some of whom are not even from Wisconsin, who are like in charge of everything.
You said two things, trust and lunatics. Number one, trust. They do trust the government. They do trust that people are going to do the right thing. And as a government servant for 30 years, I always tried to do the right thing. But that oppression comes from the trust that they have. And it's an abuse of trust, aided and abetted by our state's largest newspaper.
What a sad, sad story, and a population that does not deserve what we're getting, I would say. So you get appointed to look into the election. What did you expect to find?
I expected to find a heavy influence of Zuckerberg money that came into Wisconsin and affected our elections, especially in our 5 biggest cities in the state: Milwaukee, Madison, Green Bay, Kenosha, and Racine. I expected that there would be influence, but I've been shocked at how deeply, and this is their word, embedded the private Zuckerberg agents or employees came in actually administering the elections in those cities to one degree or another. In some cities, they took over the election. Green Bay is an example. Mayor Eric Genrich rolled out the welcome mat and facilitated the takeover of a public election by private partisan interest groups who were set in motion by Mark Zuckerberg and guided by the political goals of David Plouffe, one of the 2 top political advisors to Barack Obama, who wrote the book Citizen's Guide to Defeating Donald Trump. And David Plouffe wrote the New York Times a few days after Donald Trump won the presidency. November 11, 2016, David Plouffe wrote a letter to the New York Times, and he said the reason that Hillary Clinton lost is because she didn't spend enough time in states like Wisconsin, and she didn't do enough to turn out the African-American vote, because the research shows us that African-Americans tend to vote about 86% Democrat. Now, David Plouffe was a man on a mission, and he wasn't about to let that mistake happen when it came to fulfilling his dream of beating Donald Trump. And he then was the midwife for $330 million of Mark Zuckerberg's money. And David Plouffe took that money and he delivered it to this entity called CTCL, Center for Tech and Civic Life, staffed with people who literally within a few weeks of taking a hand in administering elections in Wisconsin, taking over the public task, the public role of administering public elections, the leader of this Center for Tech and Civic Life had just finished her 2-year Obama fellowship. And she didn't have far to move, Tucker, after she graduated from that program, because the headquarters for CTCL, those headquarters are right in downtown Chicago in the very office that was Barack Obama's campaign office. And so,
Wait a second. I thought that the Zuckerberg effort, more than $250 million, was designed to safeguard our elections from COVID.
and that's why I call it a bait and switch.
But wasn't it supposed to be protecting us from COVID?
The bait, and I described this, I spoke with our legislature 2 weeks ago today. I spoke with them for 3.5 hours in front of Chairman Branch's committee, and Chairman Branch is an outstanding public servant. But I described it as a bait and switch sales job. The bait was that they were to protect our citizens from COVID. Now that rings false for a couple of different reasons. Number one, our state had provided plenty of money, but as evidenced by the fact that no city official in any of these 5 cities had requested additional money. And if they had requested additional money, the Federal CARES Act, the federal government was handing out all sorts of money. But it was sold to the people of Wisconsin by the Zuckerberg agents and employees. And then we have another character out there called David Becker, who took George Soros's money, who is completely embedded in our structure of how Wisconsin elections are administered. A private entity, answerable to no one, and having all sorts of contractual terms. But we get back to the bait. And the bait was, we want to protect those good Wisconsin citizens from COVID. Well, they wound up spending less than 1% on COVID preventive materials. It became a partisan get out the vote campaign, paid for by Mark Zuckerberg, but authorized and supported by the official administration of our 5 largest cities to one degree or another. Kenosha, it seems to me that Kenosha has been very cooperative with us. I haven't seen anything too concerning about Kenosha yet, but I'll tell you, you had Mark Zuckerberg's agent, a guy named Michael Spitzer Rubenstein of Brooklyn, New York, a left Democrat partisan, makes no bones about it. He was editing the election day handbooks and the handbooks for how absentee ballots were going to be processed in our state's largest city, in the city of Milwaukee. And the clerk there, Claire Woodall Vaughn, not only let him do it, but helped him do it. And that same guy, Michael Spitzer Rubenstein, went up to the city of Green Bay and he took over. He stayed there, he lived there, and because Mayor Eric Gedrick wanted to help defeat Donald Trump, Spitzer Rubenstein was literally given the keys to the election center. I say that not metaphorically, Tucker. I say that because in the contract that Spitzer Rubenstein, this agent of Mark Zuckerberg, funded by Zuckerberg, he negotiated a contract with the hotel where the central count and all of the election day headquarters were set in the city of Green Bay. So he's editing all the handbooks for election workers in our state's largest city. And he's literally telling all the workers in the city of Green Bay what they should be doing, where they should be going, deciding which ballots should be cured, C-U-R-E-D, so that if there was a mistake on some of the paperwork associated with ballots, it was up to Michael Spitzer Rubenstein to determine which ballots were going to be counted.
So Mark Zuckerberg's employee, whose whole job was to defeat Donald Trump, is the one who decides which ballots are counted.
And that's where you
in what world is this allowed?
A crazy one. You use the phrase at the top of the statement about lunacy.
Yeah.
And that's, I wanted to mention that for these past 6 or 7 months since I was appointed to lead this investigation, I feel like I've been put into sort of an insane asylum. I'm asking questions about how did all of these things come to be? How did self-declared, and I should back up, I use the word employee technically from a legal perspective, I don't think you could find an employment contract, but they were certainly agents of Mark Zuckerberg. They were tasked with doing a job. And part of the job was distributing what turned out to be $8.8 million to the 5 largest cities in our state, the 5 largest Democratic cities, for the purpose so that David Plouffe, who's working for Mark Zuckerberg and overseeing all of these things, he's overseeing the CTCL, Center for Tech and Civic Life. Remember them back in Obama's campaign headquarters? He's overseeing the Michael Spitzer Rubensteins, the guy who's actually running the election. And I say that, again, literally, not metaphorically, because a fine lady and government servant named Chris Teskey, who had worked in the city of Green Bay's clerk's office for about a quarter of a century, and she had been clerk for about a decade, she quit in disgust 2 weeks prior to November 3rd, 2020. And she said at the time in an email to the mayor and the mayor's employees, all of these people from Chicago and New York, Chicago CTCL, New York, Michael Spitzer Rubenstein, all these agents, she didn't say agents of Zuckerberg, but that's what they were, have taken over and they have left nothing for me to do. And so she quit. And who did Eric Gedrick, the mayor of Green Bay, decide would be the best person to run the city of Green Bay's election? Well, he looked far away. He had to look far to Brooklyn, New York, and Michael Spitzer Rubenstein was right there, and that's who ran it.
It's just unbelievable. So